What up, yo?
A ghost!
A ghost.
Hey, what's up, pups? A ghost? A ghost? Happy Friday, everybody. How's it going? We have made it once again to the weekend, baby. But hope you guys are doing well. Lots of stuff happening. We've got stuff to talk about. I think it'll be pretty fun. Welcome to another episode of the Power Up Podcast for anybody that's new. It's a show that talks about, well, pop culture. The good, the bad, the ugly, sometimes the spiritual things that are happening, I guess you could say. I was trying to think of a better word than just things, but whatever. That are taking place in the entertainment industry. I'm just a guy who just pitching in his thoughts on the whole thing, hoping to at least keep that nostalgic flame alive and kindling well, because heaven forbid it is trying to be snuffed out. And remember just back in the day, the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s, when you could just be entertained for entertainment's sake. Well, my goal with this show is to try to keep that spirit alive. If you're new and you haven't already, maybe check out hitting that subscribe button and punching that thumbs up and turning on notifications to get notified when I go live, whether it's doing this show or my game streaming. We've been playing Luigi's Mansion 2. We are winding down on that one. We've been playing Blue Dragon as well. And no, the new Zelda game just got released. I'm sure at some point I'll play it. Just seems a lot's going on at the moment. But yeah, let's just check out some stuff here. We've got some Ubisoft news. Alyssa Mercante apparently sending cease and desist letters to people, specifically Smash JT. Who knows if other ones will be sent out, but we're knowing right now. At least one was sent to Smash JT. We've got the former Sony chairman straight up just telling people that if you don't like video games, don't buy it, which we all have seen examples of when one of the higher-ups say something like that, and then people follow it. And then it's like, oops, we didn't really think you were going to do it. And some other news. So let's hop into it. Uh-oh. Whoops. Forgot to set stuff up here. A quick fix. Wabam. There you go. This comes from PC Gamer. That caught my eye. That is the Nintendo's lawsuit against Palworld. According to this, isn't just bad for the industry. It's bad for Nintendo. I don't think this is an opinion piece. But we'll see. We'll see what it has to hold. So he says, I'm a PC gamer first and foremost, but the hybrid console created, that would be the Nintendo Switch, this entirely new niche in my play habits, and kindled an appreciation for Nintendo games I hadn't really felt since the GameCube, Game Boy Advance era. Sometimes, though, I look at Wii Paper Mario running across the screen, sweet totem of my childhood, and think, damn, the company that made this ruined a guy's life over 3DS piracy. That is very, very true. As well as Emu Paradise. Don't forget, probably the biggest site that preserved games via ROM. They went after that. So Nintendo casting itself as the game's industry's own legal terminator doesn't seem to have impacted its fortunes. And yeah. That's the other things, too, is they're claiming that tons of money are going to be lost by them, but not. It never is the case, really, from what I've noticed. People that are anti-piracy and all that stuff, they always claim that it's like, oh, it's going to hurt so much money for us and stuff like that. And to me, it always seems like it's never really the case. I'm sure some people will be like, oh, no, there's studies out there and stuff. And I've also seen the other studies that say piracy not only doesn't really affect what they're claiming it does, but people who, according to the study, who, play games, by piracy or ROMs or what have you, usually end up buying the product anyway because they got to experience first. Pretty much like a demo per se, but obviously it's the full game or movie or whatever. But anyway, it's enjoying one of the greatest hardware successes in its long history with the Switch, but these aggressive legal tactics may hurt the company in time, damaging its reputation in the name of questionable, difficult to quantify ends. Worse, it's hurting video games in general. Bad for the industry. I'm no fan of Palworld's attempt at a survival game with pokey characteristics, but I find it hard to see Nintendo's patent lawsuit as being anything but bad for the competition and creativity in the industry. Warner Brothers famously trademarked the Nemesis system for its Mordor games and then sat on it. The system's promised use in an upcoming Wonder Woman game having yet to materialize. God forbid an independent developer attempt something similar. In a medium built on imitation and iteration, FPSs were once called Doom clones. A high-profile legal effort to punish that behavior strikes me as short-sighted and bad for gamers. What if Nintendo had patented Wario Land's level escape mechanic and brought it to bear against Pizza Tower, which refined and expanded the concept? Palworld is clearly derivative, maybe even to the point of being tasteless, but in making an example of it, Nintendo's actions may scare off other worthier games in the future. We recently saw a helpful example of the knock-on effect video game publishers litigiousness I don't know can have on our games' lives. Modder, removed their popular PlayStation Network login removing hack from the God of War Ragnarok Nexus. Yeah, we have an article about that. Entirely in anticipation of legal actions from Sony. Now, Nexus Mod made a comment about it. I think, because we all know Nexus Mod is a bunch of hippie douchebags who remove mods that just go against their ideology. I think it was more of an influence on Nexus rather than Sony. But anyway, similarly, artists and fan game makers have learned to dread achieving the amount of attention and publicity that could draw Nintendo's eye. So an analysis of Nintendo's history of IP lawsuits shows a pattern of absurd, overwhelming force brought to bear against small actors. Oh, there's an actual link there. Huh. Where does that go to? Oh, another interesting. So the ugly case of Gary Bowser, sent to prison and now working off a $14.5 million debt while experiencing chronic pain from the effects of elephantitis. Really? Elephantitis? All over the sale of piracy-enabled 3DS hardware or mass copyright striking YouTubers over soundtrack music. But even in the case of direct piracy like Bowser engaged in, has the company's bottom line really benefited from going after marginal players with such aggression? How much of Nintendo's estimated $65 billion market cap can seriously be attributed to its legendary legioniousness? I feel like I'm not pronouncing that word right. Added to the vocabulary list, I guess. Learn something new every day, right? I just want to see if...
Litigiousness.
Litigiousness. Ah, okay. I guess that's how you pronounce it. Litigiousness. Cool. Palworld is even less of a direct threat to Nintendo's interests than pirates. Surprisingly successful imitator that the company seems compelled to punish solely to save face. The whole Pokemon with guns reputation and use of Pokeball-like PAL spheres, potentially the crux of Nintendo's patent case, read as parody to me, an impish skewering of a globally recognized Pokemon brand, and far from an existential threat to Nintendo's precious IP. I do agree, people definitely drew the similarities like between the two, even going down to like saying like the assets were the same or something like that. But yeah, if it's a parody of it or anything, then yeah. And we all know like a lot of people are getting upset the way Nintendo is handling, at least specifically with Pokemon stuff, with all the defeminizing the women to throw in ugly mannish type female characters. Further, Palworld occupies a genre and audience, survival crafting on PC, Nintendo has never seemed particularly interested in. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, to me, there's a bunch of difference. You could see the similarities, but there's a lot of difference between Palworld and Pokemon. But they're apparently going with the capturing an animal with a sphere, route. That's their patent case. The timing is particularly baffling. Nintendo did not strike when the iron was hot and everyone was talking about Palworld and Pokemon. And at this late date, why bother? The greatest heights of Palworld's success were clearly driven by the memetic catchiness of its Pokemon parody. Now it's just another survival crafting game with a stable enough core community. See also Valhalla or Sons of the Forest. Palworld has faded into the background and brief curiosity overshadowed by 2024's far more enduring mega hit Helldivers 2. Just in time for everyone to have largely forgotten about Palworld and move on, Nintendo has swooped in to announce, in case you've forgotten, there's the little guy, and we are huge, awful bullies. I do agree. I also agree with that it doesn't make any sense why they're coming after this now when they should have done it when it was kind of at a popularity where, at least for the people like I follow on like X and stuff like that, when they were talking about it. Now I pretty much don't see anything about Palworld anymore, except now because Nintendo brought it up. So burnishing the reputation of Nintendo, the life-ruining legal entity inherently comes at the cost of Nintendo, the lovable toy maker. It's a tension that I think will one day affect the company's bottom line. I'm certainly considering disengaging from Nintendo products, even as rumors fly about the upcoming Switch 2. And even if its profits are secure for now, it's hurting fans, games developers, and games in general, which can't be good for anyone, Nintendo included. I do agree. I mean, yeah, a lot of people do not like Nintendo specifically because they go after, claiming that it's, piracy and all that stuff. And it's people that legitimately, they ain't losing money from what the people were doing. I guess maybe for Bowser, but honestly, it's too late to do this when it's been out a while and the game didn't have much players. Now it's coming back. True, which if Nintendo loses this lawsuit, then to me, it opens up a whole bunch of stuff now. Because now it's like, well, now you're just being bullies because you're mad because an IP that made fun of your IP is doing better. Because specifically with Pokemon, people are not really happy with the censorship and the wokeness that you're fisting inside of your Pokemon games. On a rather somber note, actress Maggie Smith passed away at 89. So actress Dame Maggie Smith, is that like Dame and Sir sort of thing? Has passed away at the age of 89 according to an announcement made by her sons. Margaret Smith has had a long career in film and TV, notably playing Professor McGonagall in the Harry Potter franchise, Violet Crowley in Downton Abbey, among dozens of other credits, cross stage and screen as far back as 1952, such as I remember her from Wendy from Hook. Smith was granted the title of Dame by Queen Elizabeth II in 1992, a title similar to knighthood, as both have roots in chivalric orders of Europe. Actually, It goes back. They want you to think that it does, but it goes back to really worshiping of fallen angels and that stuff. You can actually trace this back to because they're proud of their royal bloodline, but they're really proud of it because they've traced it back to like Cain, the bloodline of Cain and stuff like that, and Enoch the evil. Oki says what? Yeah, about Maggie Smith. Yeah, it's sad. But I mean, rest in peace, Maggie Smith. Don't know what your beliefs were, but hopefully you were one of faith. But yeah, a lot of people being snatched away this year, and it's not fun. So since we were talking about Nintendo and it mentioned like a modder removing a God of War thing, this is what it is, coming from Video Game Chronicle. Modder removes God of War PC PSN remover to avoid potential legal action. The PSN removal mod disappeared days after release. Earlier this week, VGC reported that a mod had been released that bypassed God of War Ragnarok's PSN requirement. However, following this, the mod was removed, leading many to speculate why it had been taken down from modding sites. Now, modding platform Nexus Mod has released a statement from the modder. By the way, we've noticed that the popular PSN bypass mod for God of War Ragnarok has been removed from our site by the author, so we've reached out to find out why. We've had a chat with the mod author about this and can confirm that the mod was removed due to a personal decision after it received significant traction, including coverage from prominent news outlets, to avoid any future actions by Sony. I don't know. X to doubt. We know Nexus Mod is a big pile of shit because they got butt hurt over when people edited the trans flag into the American flag because that's what it should have been originally. So I take what Nexus Mod is claiming with a grain of salt. So I don't know. So the modder said, hello, that was my personal decision because the mod has got too much attention. I thought it would be better to remove it from public to avoid any potential threats from the Sony side, even though the project never modified anything memory related to Sony products, but better safe than sorry. There is no suggestion that Sony had pursued any action against the mod at the time of writing. The modder appears to be doing it preemptively. Well, hopefully somebody snagged it and they'll put it up on like based mods or something like that. Because the whole, you got to have a PSN requirement, and it's bullshit. And that's a whole nother topic we kind of talked about in the past. So earlier this year, Sony implemented the PSN requirement into a breakout hit, Helldivers 2. This led to the game being delisted in 177 countries because the PlayStation Network wasn't available in those regions. The news was met with huge backlash from players, and the game was hit with over 100,000 negative reviews on Steam in less than 48 hours. Due to the reception, PlayStation delivered a U-turn and scrapped the requirement, saying it was still learning what is best for PC players. I always love this excuse because it's always when they are painted in the negative that they're like, oh, we're learning. It's like, no, you guys were being assholes. That's what. And now because a game got tarnished, people got mad about it. And then when they reversed it, the Helldivers 2 team, decided to nerf stuff and got all butthurt about other stuff too. And Helldivers 2 had a great thing going for it, and they royally fucked up. But whatever. What's up, Komanga? 100,000 negative reviews. Dang. Yep. But here is something that I find quite interesting, mostly because it has to do with the digital aspect of gaming and the future of it, but it surprisingly comes from California. And that is California forces digital stores to admit players don't own digital content. Currently, there is no provision in law to stop digital games being removed. That is a huge discovery. And from California, of all places, amazing. I'm still sus just because it's California, California. But let's see what this has to say. So a new state law in California will force digital storefronts to admit to players that they are simply buying a license for a digital product rather than owning the product. As reported by The Verge, California Governor Gavin Queersome, I know it's Newsom, but he's a queer, has signed a new bill that will forbid digital storefronts from using the terms like, quote, buy, unless customers are explicitly warned that they are paying for a license to a game which may expire at any time. As retailers continue to pivot away from selling physical media, terrible choice. I would definitely change your guys' attitude about that. But we all know that they want you to not own the game so that when they happen to discover you have the wrong thing, they can remove you from using their media. The need for consumer protections on the purchase of digital media has become increasingly more important. Californian Assembly member Jacques Irwin said in a statement. I thank the governor for signing AB 2426, ensuring the false and deceptive advertisement from sellers of digital media incorrectly telling customers they own their purchases because a thing of the past. Oh, becomes a thing of the past. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Several high-profile companies have taken games entirely off in recent years, leading many players to question the legality of removing access to games that people have paid for. So in April, Ubi Flaccid took the Crew offline a year after delisting the game. Earlier this month, developer Ivory Tower acknowledged consumer complaints over the handling of the Crew. We want to acknowledge that some of you voiced concern about the access to the Crew games, said Stephanie Belly, senior creator director of the franchise at Ivory Tower. Today, we want to express our commitment to the future of the Crew 2 and the Crew Motorfest. We are currently exploring different solutions and can confirm an offline mode to ensure long-term access to both titles. And then Ubisoft explained its decision to take the Crew offline in a statement issued to VGC last year. Funny how California in this case is telling the truth, but me and you know this is all along. Physical games rule. Yeah. No, it's just funny that it's coming from California, but I mean, this isn't going to win you any brownie points. If anything, it's just confirming of what we've talked about, like what we knew was like what was happening to begin with. So after almost a decade of support, we will be decommissioning the Crew 1 on March 31st, 2024, it said. We understand this may be disappointing for players still enjoying the game, but it is necessary due to upcoming server infrastructure and licensing constraints. That's always the same excuse, licensing constraints and infrastructure. Every time, mostly for like music. Because that's what they did with Alan Wake, but now it's back again, but it's different music. And it's like, well, then that's not what the OG game was. So, like, what's the point, you know? But yeah, this is definitely interesting. Very interesting. Let's see. What else? So coming from that Park Place, we have Ubisoft developers reportedly reveal company brushes off legitimate criticism as, quote, toxic gamer talk, and DEI policies have led to brain drain. This is why This is why it's getting to the point where like all these companies, did Alan Wake 2 sell well? Oh, fuck no. Hell no, Alan Wake 2 didn't sell well. It may have sold like average. People did not like it well. I mean, you had the cucks that will support it regardless, but from what I heard, it didn't do so hot. I'm talking about the OG Alan Wake. Or I guess Alan Wake 1, I should say. But gosh. This is the mental gymnastics I'm talking about. This is the programming that these people do. It's gotten to the point where any legitimate criticism, as painful as it is going to get ignored unless you agree with what they're doing. And it's getting like, this is getting ridiculous. That's why I'm, there was a thing on the time with like Rums and stuff like that, where it was like, not all developers are like this and stuff like that. But it's getting to the point, unfortunately, where like the entire, like it needs to be burned to the ground. Like everybody needs to fail. And everyone needs to like be removed in order to start from scratch, because we're still having stuff like this. Alleged Ubisoft developers claim that the company either ignores legitimate criticism of its business practices and games or brush it off as toxic gamer talk. And of course, if this is like people inside of the company telling this to the higher ups, and the higher ups are saying toxic gamer talk and stuff, that just shows the disconnect, and they need to be removed too. They also claim that the company's DEI policy have led to loss of talent in both technical expertise as well as creativity. Well, this is true. Yeah, if actual creative people are being replaced with DEI stuff, then yeah, absolutely, those people need to be removed as well. YouTuber Legendary Drops reports he spoke with a number of Ubisoft developers and specifically asked one how Ubisoft internalizes and discusses general criticism from players and the rest of the industry, whether it's repetitive design, agenda-driven content, and predictable games. The developer responded, at a high level, they rarely talk about it. At a project level, they brush it off as toxic gamer talk. As Asmongold correctly pointed out in one of his videos, Ubisoft is filled with toxic positivity that prevents growth. Yep. And that's just straight up delusion and retardedness and not based in reality. That's this retarded concept of, if I think positive enough, I can will it into existence. Does not work. You may make yourself feel better, but it's not just going to magically manifest like a pot of gold or something like that, After being asked about Japanese gamers sharing their own criticism of Assassin's Creed Shadows, the developer stated the criticism hasn't been talked about, and Ubisoft only issued demands that we mustn't engage with discussion on the topic publicly. But yet here you are talking about it, because I don't think... Yeah, it says they're not ex-developer Ubisoft developers. This is not unheard of. Firewalk Studios and PlayStation engaged in a similar practice with Concord after a significant backlash to the game being showcased during the PlayStation State of Play presentation at the end of May. The director of IP for Firewalk Studios, Kim Creans, eventually addressed it in an interview with VGC nearly a month later. She said, yeah, that trailer, that moment is such a tiny slice of everything that we've been working on for years and years. We're excited for the game and for the IP, and for the game to be in people's hand, the IP to be in people's minds. She continued, I'm personally very excited for the IP, for folks to delve into the Galactic Guide, if that is something they choose to do, for these vintages to come out on a weekly basis. You'll start to fall in love with the depth of the character. That's something that you learn week from week. See, We've kind of already read this. Their person, learn about the personality, the relationship, and the blah 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 blah. None of that is something that you can get in a tiny little slice of it. But But again, these people are missing the point. Is no one ever asked for this to begin with. This is the delusion that these people have. And this is where it's becoming clearly obvious that not only are there a bunch of weeds and infestation inside of the gaming community, they're deliberately destroying established franchises by bastardizing them with DEI woke garbage and, all that shit. But now they're starting to make games just for themselves. So it's literally a circle jerk, which doesn't sell to anybody at all whatsoever. Concord being the example. It doesn't matter on how much, it's like when I'm not a beer person. I don't like drinking beer. I can do it, but I don't like it. I've just never developed the taste. So back in the day, when you're young and you start getting, if you get into alcohol and, you turn 21 and all that stuff, it's legal. You can now go out and buy it and stuff like that. You tend to drink beer. And a lot of times because you're broke and you may not have a good paying job, you buy the shitty beer. And then after a while, at the beginning, it tastes horrible and you're like, oh, this is horrible. But down the road, once you get plastered on it and all that stuff, it becomes an acquired taste. These are what these people are trying to tell you. Is once we get your money and you play for it and you play it like a little bit, then you'll start to appreciate all the hard work and shit that we've done. When the reality is, they displayed it like, hey, we're making this. And people looked at it and said, that looks like fucking shit. I'm not buying it. Well, what do you mean? It's like, oh my gosh, the programming these people have is so strong. And at this point, these people's spirits need to be broken for hopefully them getting out of that programming. Alas, a lot of them are not going to, and they're going to fade off into obscurity. But it's what I've said in the past videos, to where now they're even complaining when people have seen a demo, like a trailer for a movie, for example, and they go, wow, that trailer looks garbage. That movie looks like terrible. According to what you showed me, I'm not interested in the story of blah, 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 blah. And the director going, well, you know what? That's not a valid opinion. Once we get your money and you play your game a little bit, then you can come and talk to me about the problems. It's like, dude, that's not how this works at all. Gosh. Yeah. Again, all these people need to be removed. All of them. We can nip the strong weeds in the bud, but we gotta burn the whole, the whole grass down to get rid of all the weeds, because this is just becoming insane. Which is unfortunate, because there's a lot of people, obviously, they'll contact, YouTubers and stuff like that and say, hey, just want to say thank you for what you do, for standing up, but I can't say anything because in fear of losing my job. Well, I'm sorry, but I mean, if you get a bunch of people together and you say, yeah, we're done, and it's like, uh-oh, what do we have to do? It shows. It shows. Need a scythe? LOL. I know. We need more than a scythe. We need weed killer is what we need. Obviously, and that's the tricky thing about everything, is how do we remove the weeds, i.e. the activists and the DEI stuff from every place, not just from the bottom feeders and stuff. It's getting to the point where the higher ups need to get booted out too. It's like, how do we get that and try not to affect the people that actually do care and want to just make a good game? What can we do, to have that? Because that's obviously the best outcome that we would want. So obviously the good people stay and the bad people leave. But sadly, it's becoming to a point where you got to just start from scratch. And unfortunately, some good people might suffer from it. And it's like, well, why didn't you guys all band together and stand up? Because we see how things happen now. People will support you in some way, shape, or form out there. Anyway. Where were we? Not only did Ubisoft developers share the company ignores criticism it receives to its own detriment, but Legendary Drops also asked about Ubisoft's commitment to diversity and inclusion in its workspace. The developer shared, so far, those initiatives had no impact on the team I'm part of. I guarantee you it did in some way, shape, and form. Let's be real here. We can't keep saying, well, it doesn't affect this, because you'll wake up tomorrow and it's here. We're seeing it all too much. However, it's clear that some topics are taboo. What happened is that now people end up in meeting with HR for trivial stuff, not adding smiley in a message and adding an exclamation point at the end of the message because some are reporting it for harassment. That's fucking retarded. And the people who are contacting HR, they need to be removed. Because, oh my gosh, heaven forbid you run into someone that doesn't think the way you do, or heaven forbid you misinterpreted what they were talking about and you didn't have the balls to go up and ask them what they meant, to elaborate. Gosh. These people have no confrontation. The only confrontation they can do is on their keyboards because they're safe. That's why they want to make that virtual reality this reality. Which then you can make the argument by scripture that technically this entire reality we know is a kind of virtual reality. It's but that's another rabbit hole. Anyway, but yeah, that's gay about the smiley comment and all that stupid shit. One of the things that wasn't in your video is that Ubisoft had some controversy during the Me Too period, letting go manager in high positions, and some left on their own before they would be discovered, the developer added. When asked how this changed the editorial direction of the company and its games, the developer stated, the editorial direction and overall mindset shifted from boys clubs to, quote, safe content. Reaching for playing character K in Star Wars is the perfect example of this. The idea to have beautiful characters, such as in Baldur's Gate or Uncharted, is met with distrust. What? I mean, there were some beautiful characters in Baldur's Gate, but, I mean, let's be real. That was, like, fisted with debauchery. And I slew a bunch of people for it. I was a paladin of vengeance, or of an oath of vengeance, or whatever. I smoted many a people. Famously referred to as the Matrix. Kind of, in a way, yeah. It's kind of how it is. Everything we know is just a husk. He added, safe content also led to limited opportunity on the gameplay side, even for Star Wars. We had to work with Disney, which would have shut down most attempts at depicting a true criminal underworld with cruelty and drama. Okay. The developer was then asked, what has been the message from management to the staff about Ubisoft declining sales? What do you believe is the reason behind it? Oh, here we go. He responded, the fun fact is they don't talk about it. Don't talk much about it, which is retarded because money is, let's be real, money is like the key factor for all of these people. So to just simply ignore it means that you don't care that you're losing money and you should be fired. Because isn't that your job, to get the money back and then some? They mainly focus on the fact that they reached their financial objectives. What financial objective is having declined sales? That makes no sense. It's like, good work, guys. We only lost 80% of our sales as the usual 100. Which are mainly achieved through casual player sales. not the vocal gamer community that are really sick of what you describe in your video. Also, something to know is that through the years, the number of management floors have increased to ridiculous amounts, so communication is often blurry unless they come directly from HQ, and even then it's almost entirely corporal bullshit that isn't useful in the end, he added. So another Ubisoft developer appeared to corroborate this information and informed Legendary Drops, Ubisoft as an employer shows little regard for its developers. What happens in practice is that they essentially push out senior engineers, promoting junior developers to senior roles after just a few years of experience, oftentimes with experience in just one engine. Meanwhile, experienced developers with far broader skill sets are being overlooked. This constant cycle of turnover with inexperienced leaders to a noticeable drop in quality, with more bugs appearing in the games, the developer continued. The passionate, dedicated developers leave, while those who are just going through the motions stay behind. This doesn't just affect the technical quality of the game, but also impacts design and creativity. And this is where for once, I just want to see an entire place just get up and say, fuck you, change this, or we're all leaving. Because then you're fucked. But of course, as you know, there are going to be people that will then take that opportunity and kind of weasel in. So, alas. I just think of how the how the Punisher handles it. But he takes it to the extreme, as we know. Depending on what Punisher you're following, of course. I think I was reading Punisher Maximum, where I think one time he kind of explains how it works. You take out the head guy, and then, all the bottom feeders will then take that place. So you take out that guy, and then you just keep repeating it until people are terrified. Because then that means that, hey, you take that position, you're pretty much dead. And then that's where everything breaks down. Because it's like, yeah, I'm not dealing with that. There's a lack of passion and skill across the board, and the result is obvious. What do you make of all these alleged comments for these Ubisoft developers? I mean, leave if they don't like it, obviously. And then, we're seeing how much the independent area is growing. People will support you. That's the thing. People will support you. So just combine together and make a sweet-ass, kick-ass game. And don't sell out to the AA studios. Tell them to go fist their loose assholes. Honestly, games used to be like, looks good, let's try it. Now it's complaining about every game now. I never understood, I'm noticing a lot of game demos for games, aside from like beta, alpha, and betas and stuff like that. Like, you see some games do it, but you would think every game would do it. So then people can get an idea of what they, if gamers want to go and pursue and get the game when it's officially done and comes out. But like I said, we're getting people now that are straight up saying, no, we need to take your money. Then if you have a problem with it, then we can talk. That's the thing. Just talk. That's how they demand that. If you want to have a conversation with me, you need to buy our product first. And it's like, well, I'm just not going to buy it then. Well, what are you racist? Why? It's like, because you're a fag. Like there's your reason. All right, so we're kind of on like the main topics that I kind of wanted to talk about. Let's see, because, well, I got this one from PSU. I had this open where Sean Layden, ex-Sony boss, responds to Ghost of Yote, female lead backlash. If you don't like it, don't play it. Terrible thing to say, because there has been enough people that will go, okay, and then they won't buy it. i.e., Assassin's Creed Shadows. I also got that park place too. I guess we could read this one. Ghosts of Yode has a female protagonist, and that's sadly enough to annoy certain dark corners of the internet nowadays. Sean Layden, who previously, I think this one's more biased. Like, get ready for your woke side of things. Sean Layden, don't buy it if you don't like it. Okay, easily done. Who previously served as chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios. Dear Lord, that's a long title. Has responded to these claims with a very simple suggestion. If you don't like it, don't buy it. The former Sony executive responded to an X thread that highlighted one particular criticism from a fan who commented that they can't help themselves until every franchise that was built on masculinity is replaced by women. The user then went on to whinge. Is that supposed to be whine? Did they just accidentally put a G in there? That they are, quote, so sick of forced girl boss narrative man. I believe this is, they're referring, they don't want to name him, but it's Endion. Good, short, true words, LOL. So then this guy responded, it's a game and entertainment, a story a team of creators believes in. They want to make this. It's a game. Look at that right there. They want to make this. They want to make this. So you heard people say Ghost of Tsushima was a solid game. I would like to continue that story. And they said, no, we want to make a story with a woman instead. Don't notice it. Read really carefully about what these people are saying. They want to make this. It's a game. If you don't like it, don't buy it. In fact, and why not make the game yourself? Because we see how people like you respond when people actually do that. IGN and that sort of stuff, you pay them off to not talk about the game or give it a shit rating. Oh yeah, this is a rather short article. But they didn't have the balls to mention the person who I believe was Endi Aman. So we'll go over to that park place. There you go. So he told gamers that if they are interested or don't like the Ghost of Tsushima sequel, Ghost of Yotai, they should not buy it. Shared his comments while reacting to YouTuber Endi Mion's, yeah, that's who I thought it was, initial reaction to the game's trailer. He wrote, Ghost of Tsushima sequel stars a Japanese woman samurai warrior because of course it does. They can't help themselves until every franchise that was built on masculinity is replaced by women. He added, Ghost of Yotai is hopefully a small spin-off game, but if that is the true sequel and this is the new main character over Jin Sakai, fuck that. So sick of the forced girl boss narrative, man. So YouTuber Mighty Queef reacted to this by attacking Endi Mion and writing, man, what an absolute loser. I think, what's his name? Something Syndrome. There's a guy that I see around. He does research about the bots that are used on Twitter and everything like that. And I think he kind of pointed out that Mighty Queef possibly could be using bots. I remember that was a big thing. I've seen Mighty Queef here. Guy's a fag. Just spews, your typical woke terminology and stuff. So Layden responded to this post writing, 1, it's a game, and entertainment. 1, a story a team of creators believe in. They want to make this. He added, 2, it's a game. If you don't like it, don't buy it. In fact, why not make the game you want yourself? Notice on what, okay, so as you can see right here, here's red flag number 1. You got your trans flag, you got your gay flag, got your American flag, got your Japanese flag in his name. So number 1, that this guy's a beta bitch. Number 2, doesn't even have the balls to respond to Endi Mion. He has to go on Gay Boy here, post. because he knew he'd probably get some reaction to it. Which, hey, you know what? I'm guilty of, I've done this a couple times too, where you don't respond. You just quote repost or quote tweet or whatever you want to call it. But I think it's funny when you do that because then you'll get the weirdos that get really pissed off that will be like, "Ugh," that will come onto you and comment to you, and you just laugh at it because you're like, wow, you're really that ass mad over it. Pick your poison, I guess. Pick your battles. So Layden's first point is likely untrue, given Sony and PlayStation have made it very clear they are not just in the business of making games and entertaining anymore, but are indeed in the business of propagating gamers' woke ideology through their games. Yep. Company website makes it very clear. Diversifying the game industry is one of our most important goals. Sony Interactive is committed to preparing and nurturing underrepresented talents of careers in the gaming industry. Yep. And they never name who the underrepresented talent of careers are in the gaming industry, because the only people that they target all the time are the people that they say, are the one, these people are underrepresented. Therefore, we're giving them the most privileged position ever. And it's like, well, then they're not underrepresented anymore. So now it's like, oh my gosh, crazy idea. What if you just go back to the way things were, to where your decisions are based on the talent and the merit and the skills that the individual have, regardless of race, gender, XYZ, and all that stuff. But that would be logical, They can't do that. Furthermore, it adds, we want our workforce to reflect diversity of thought and experience of our player base. Well, again, reflect specific diversity of thoughts and experience, not because that would mean that you would hear it from both sides, but they don't want to hear it from a specific side because they've deemed the one side the enemy. So it's kind of like, their get out of jail free card. We have set out clear and ambitious aspirations, built internal and external talent pipelines, and expand our diversity sourcing, retention, and development efforts to increase diverse representation at Sony Interactive. That's why Concord did so well, right? Not only does the company seemingly have discriminatory hiring practice based on skin, color, and sex, but also makes it clear it's injecting woke messages into its game. I know, this is the most hilarious thing, and I've said it before. They don't realize that just because you're claiming you're fighting for equality and against discrimination and XYZ doesn't excuse the fact that your methods are the most discriminatory and sexist things to exist. It's literally the end to these people. The end justifies the means. When really it's, you're just ass mad, so you're swinging the pendulum back harder, which will then in turn, at some point, the other side is going to swing back even harder than what you're doing. And then it's just going to go back and forth until someone finally breaks, which I have a sneaking suspicion I know which side is the weaker of the two. Just call it a hunch. We are also committed to highlighting diversity in products. We featured curated collections of PlayStation Store around themes such as amazing heroines, no one cares, LGBTQIA plus characters, no one cares, and accessibility-friendly titles. Okay. Like what? Like for, I don't know. Like what? People, like colorblind people or something? I don't. This one, I can understand a little bit of the accessibility-friendly titles, but I mean, what are you talking about, really? Can I enhance this picture to see what they're talking about? I cannot. Here, what if I just do this? That does not work. Whoops. So as to whether the creative team believes in the game, it's likely this is true given Sony's hiring policy appears to be based not only on skin tone and gender, but likely woke ideology as well. The company is hiring woke ideologies or ideologues It's quite likely that woke ideologues will attempt to create projects they believe in. Yep, and that's why it's wonderful that Concord failed, because that should be a huge eye opener that shit doesn't sell. Now, of course, they're going to. Now, the deflect that they use, I'm noticing they're not using it anymore. At first, it was The Last of Us Part 2, and then that slowly faded away because I think people really realized that was a bunch of bullshit. And the amount of returns that game had was insane. So now they're going over to Baldur's Gate 3. Well, this had all the woke stuff, and it's like, well, it had debauchery. And we all know that the left love the debauchery scenes. I mean, we've seen the gay pride parades, people pissing on each other and sucking each other off and stuff like that. Like, so that's a terrible example. This game was woke, and it sold. It's like, no, it was just full of debauchery, and you guys are like, you know, like poon hounds. That's why it sold. I played it and I smote everybody that, you know, that were heathens in my eyes. The one vampire guy tried to, you know, suck my blood. I killed that guy real quick. Got rid of him, saved Shadowheart from being a part of a cult. I did the Lord's work in that game. But I did also state that it didn't have the charm of the OG as Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Because we didn't need to see the debauchery. That's the thing in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Everything was really dialogue-based and good storytelling. You didn't need to see the debauchery happening. Some of it was in there, you know, in your romantic relationship and stuff like that. But it wasn't the main focus. And it wasn't taken to the extreme, like fucking a bear or something like that. So the Lord of the Rings author, J.R.R. Tolkien, even noted that the fact that he was a Christian can be deduced from his work. He wrote, well, got to be careful with that. He says he's a Christian. He wrote in letter 213 to Deborah Webster, I'm a Christian, which can be deduced from my stories, and in fact, a Roman Catholic. Yeah, but you kind of learn what he's talking about. There's some interesting stuff with J.R.R. Tolkien. That's another rabbit hole, though. In letter 142 to Robert Murray, S.J. Tolkien was credited his mother's faith and upbringing as to why The Lord of the Rings was consciously Catholic during his revision of it. He wrote, The Lord of the Rings is, of course, a fundamentally religious and Catholic work. See, that's the thing. Religious and Catholic work, but then he's conflating that with Christian stuff, and there's definitely problems. But we won't get on that one. I'm still doing studyings about that too. So, unconsciously so at first, but consciously in the revision. That is why I have not put in or have cut out particularly all references to anything like religion, to cults or practices in the imaginary world, for the religious element is absorbed into the story and the symbolism. However, that is very clumsily put. It sounds more self-important than I feel. For as a matter of fact, I have consciously planned very little and should chiefly be grateful for having been brought up since I was 8 in a faith that has nourished me and taught me all the little that I know, and that I owe my mother who clung to her conversion and died young, largely through the hardships of poverty resulting from it, Tolkien added. Clearly, if Tolkien's consciously revised Lord of the Rings to be Catholic, one can assume that woke ideologues are consciously attempted to interject their own philosophy and religion into the creative works they are creating. Exactly. That's exactly. So as for Layden's second point, that's exactly what gamers have been doing, and it has been especially highlighted this year as they have chosen to avoid games that have pushed woke ideology, such as Suicide Squad, Concord, Dustborn, Star Wars Outlaws, we'll just say it, Assassin's Creed Shadows, and others. And ironically, this advice is usually taken up by the people being lectured by individuals like Layden. Maybe the most infamous instance was Marvel Comics writer Kelly Sue DeConnick. Back in 2017, she told Sci-Fi Right, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. Later in the interview, she said, I'm going to make the book that I'm going to make, and if you don't want to read them, don't read them. And then in 2019, she was lamenting the state of the comic book industry, telling Nerd News, from our perspective, the industry has contracted, and and we're very worried about comics right now. So it's always interesting to me that the outside perspective is always comics are booming. She later stated, I think I tend to be pretty optimistic, but in this one, I'm worried. I'm straight worried. When asked why, she elaborated, because stores are closing at a phenomenal rate. Independent comic sales are down. Mainstream comic sales are down, except the top 3 or 5 books are up. Everything in mid-list is way down. Oh. Reap the seeds you sow, you dumb. Well, I'll be nice about it. But
shut up, bitch.
There you go. The Rock will say it for me. Numbers that used to be numbers that would get you canceled are now like, no, that's a hit. Independent books making the back the cost of doing flops is like names that should be able to do it. No sweat or going to the. We get the point. I'm not reading her stupid comment because it's hilarious. You said, don't buy my book if you don't like my politics. People said, sure, easily done. See a fag. And then all of a sudden, a couple years later, what's happening? Everything's declining. Oh yeah, now we're getting into Doctor Who. So as for Layden's final comment questioning of Endymion should make the game he wants himself, many people are indeed doing that. They're taking the advice C.S. Lewis gave to Tolkien. They won't write the kind of book we want to read. We shall write them ourselves, but it is very laborious. Numerous individuals are doing this. They are making their own games, comics, novels, movies, and TV shows. Yep. And then you get people getting ass mad for like Eric July's Ripaverse and that whole thing. That whole rabbit hole. Because now the word grift is being thrown around too, and that's just adding more annoyance. Ugh. But, whatever. So speaking of, wokies getting so upset that they have to, take drastic measures because their harassment is being projected onto, people they hate and saying, well, you're the harasser and therefore I need to put a stop to this. Alyssa Mercante. Smash JT responds to Kotaku's senior editor, Alyssa Mercante, sending cease and desist letter to him. Will countersue for everything you're coming after me with. And I think recently, like the lawyer that, oh gosh, that face. The lawyer that she hired, spurred out and switched his ex account into protected mode or respond only mode or whatever. Because people found some interesting, heated stuff that he said. So Alyssa Mercante, a senior editor of Kotaku, sent YouTuber Smash JT a cease and desist letter alleging that he defamed and harassed her. Nah, it's funny. We'll say this right off the bat. She defamed and harassed herself. She brought all of this on herself. You look at this face and you tell me that, oh yeah, she's definitely being harassed. Fight me for real, in real life. Okay, well, you got to listen to my terms. Oh, fuck off. Oh my gosh. So in a YouTube upload, Smash JT announced Alyssa Mercante has now sent an official cease and desist from her lawyer about how I need to apologize for things I've said to her because they're defamatory in nature, which is interesting because everything I've said has been in response and using what she said to form my opinion and explain why I feel the way about her. And then from there, he addressed Mercante's lawyer, Lane Haygood, who sent the letter. This guy struck me as everything that an ambulance chaser lawyer would be, he said. That would take literally any case that anyone brought to him, as long as he thought, hey, maybe I can make a buck or two off of this. So sure, I'll throw a letter out there. What could hurt? We'll send some scares to him. We'll make him admit in the guilt that he's not guilty of. And then maybe we can use that against him to push even further and try to get more. Then addressing Mercante, he said, and something Elisa clearly hasn't learned yet, is her words and things she says and does can be and will be used against her in court of law, and she doesn't really want to go down this road. So from there, he shared the letter that Haygood sent him on behalf of Mercante, accusing him of defamation, harassment, and demanding he retract a number of statements and issue an apology to Mercante. All while doing it under their terms, by the way. He would have to send, you would read, like, here's a letter, and it would assert that we will determine if it was good enough. This is why you never apologize, because they will say, no, it's not good enough. No, it's not good enough. No. So you just don't apologize. Shared a letter to X that asserts, Jeff, we write to you today as counsel for Alyssa Mercante. You have made unlawful harassing and/or defamatory statements about Alyssa. We are writing to request that you voluntarily retract them and publish an apology, the language of which we will suggest to you before we pursue other legal avenues against you. See, right there. Gay. He responded to this section, no, I haven't, and you can state that as face when you haven't proven it in a court of law. So regarding the accusation of defamation, it specifically references a number of posts Smash JT made on X. First, it points to one he posted on March 30th, where he wrote, horrification, what's that? Like what Alyssa Mercante does, sucking dicks in her off time for money? Second, he points to another he made on April 1st, where he wrote, how do I put this in a way you'd grasp? The Amico was about as much fun as sucking 20 dicks in a row, but instead of being paid for it, I'd pay $10K to do it. He then commented, notice how they don't say what Alyssa said, because then that would implicate her as egging me on, trying to get a response, because her initial tweet on me there was making fun of my initial investment. So I figured, okay, that opened the door to make fun of her. But again, with Alyssa, that only goes one way. So then the document points to 2 YouTube videos in his smashjt.com website where he made similar comments. It specifically notes he said, Alyssa Mercante has since come forward stating that she used to be a sex worker sucking dicks for money before working at Kotaku, which she did. There's straight up a tweet that she posted. It then claims those statements are actually false. Smash JT reacted to this questioning, are they? Because she said things herself that alluded to sucking dicks for money, which is where I got it from. How much research did you do before you wrote this letter, Mr. Lane Haygood? And then Haygood then claimed Smash JT knew the statements were false before he made them. He responded, no, I didn't. Actually, because of what she said, I assumed she was telling the truth. The lawyer went on to assert, these statements are not mere insults, trash talk, or rhetorical hyperbole such as would render them protected speech. He reacted, yeah, they were. That was my response when I was thinking about literally reading this. It was, yeah, they were. They were straight up insults. What are you, retarded? He then accuses, furthermore, because commenting on Alyssa and her work has proven so lucrative for you, there's incentive for you to continually up the ante in her criticism of her. Oh my gosh. He responded, I haven't talked about Alyssa in like a month. If I was making so much money about her, don't you think based off of what you're saying here that I would just never stop talking about her if that was my goal? That doesn't make any sense. Oh my gosh. He then goes on to accuse Smash JT of recklessly disregarding good taste. And the truth, in an effort to provide the content that sustains your social media presence. This is the very definition of actual malice. Smash replied, if you've been watching my channel for a while, I focus on the truth. That is the goal of what I talk about when I cover things. Someone coming from Otaku who does not do that is very interesting to point at me and say that I'm not focusing on the truth. It's just fascinating. Then goes over the portion of the letter that demands a retraction from Smash. Requests him to apologize. Specifically, it wants him to state, it was wrong of me to suggest Alyssa Mercante has engaged in sexual contact for money. Isn't she literally, Is she still doing OnlyFans? This is the funny thing too, is that this is the whole like my body, my body, my choice sort of thing. Is that I should be able to do whatever I want with my money, or with my body. And it's like, they have an OnlyFans. It's like, okay, well, you're a whore then. And then it's like, how dare you call me that? It's like, well, that's what you're doing. Like you're using your money to make money, or your body to make money. Like, sure, fine, whatever. I think you're a whore. Oh my gosh. See, they want the ability to do whatever they want, but they don't want to take any responsibility or backlash from it, because they're the victim. But anyway, they specifically want him to state, it was wrong of me to suggest Alyssa Mercante is engaged in sexual contact for money. I let my rhetoric get away from me, and I did so hoping to inflame you, my audience. I apologize for spreading lies about Alyssa and for doing so to manipulate you, my viewers. Notice how they specifically want him to apologize to his viewers. This is how these people are the most, these people make up the excuse that all these racists and XYZ is, you don't see me as a human being. You're dehumanizing me. You're doing this, this, and this. These people are the ones that are truly doing that. The projection from these people is unreal. Notice how they're using. See, to them, they're saying, we're doing this because we care about your viewers, because you're misleading them, because you're doing this, X and Y. Look at that. They do not see you as humans. These people actually see you as viewers, or in terms of X, followers. You're a number. You're nothing. Seem to recall someone pretty big guy. Well, not really big, like height-wise, but it's something that kind of made an impression on the world. Targeted specific people. I think they had like numbers branded on their arm or something like that. My mind's a slipping. So she's trying to make me look like a liar and try to expose me, and I've said to my audience as a horrible person, and I hope to try to take me down. Wait. So she's trying to make me look like a liar and trying to expose me, and what I've said to my audience as a horrible person, and hopes to try to take me down because she's lost any kind of credibility throughout this entire endeavor, he responded. So now she's going the legal route to try to be like, oh, I'm going to make him say something and threaten him with the lawsuits. That'll make him really fail at life, and that'll be my first win to own the chuds. That's the other thing, too. These people love the government so much that they will run to it whenever they can and waste your time, because they know that'll be a waste of money on your end, too. Because these people will never, ever plan to pay whatever it is they're doing. That's the other thing, too. They're just praying and spraying and hope something sticks, and hopefully they'll win in some shape and form. But to me, I was thinking about this, and it's like, well, at this point, like, these people's spirits need to be completely broken then, at this point. Like, the programming needs to be deactivated. And how do you deactivate it? I don't know. Like I said, to me, it seems like these people's spirits needs to be completely shattered to hopefully that once they hit that all-time low, that they can finally come to their senses, break free from the programming, and climb themselves out of it. As someone that tries to his very best to follow the scripture and give agape love to everybody, that's the best I can do, because I'm not God, because I don't have patience for these type of people. To me, there are just some people that will be a lost cause, and you need to move on and not waste your time with them. But these people want to insert their lives into your lives because they need some sort of affirmation that they have some sort of self-worth. And if it involves being a huge piece of shit to ultimately, like what Smash says, to own the chuds. Pathetic. Like, so be it that they think. Pathetic. Pathetic. So he addresses Mercande's harassment claims, which states, in addition to the defamatory statements above, you continually post about Alyssa, particularly in conjunction with your campaign to end Kotaku, constitutes a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person that harasses the person that serves no legitimate purpose in their continued harassment under the California Penal Code. Now we're getting into wording that I just don't care about. Smash JT responded, "This is coming from someone trying to threaten to sue me for contacting my wife and trying to create a hostile environment in my home world and trying to get us divorced by telling her how awful her husband is because she can't stand to see someone else successful. Regarding the accusation of continual posting," he said, "she's been talking about me nonstop. Even after sending this letter, she still posts about me what feels like almost daily, which is just fascinating to me that this is so one-sided that this guy is either willfully ignorant to her client or knows what she's doing and is pretending that everything is perfectly fine on her side." So as he got to the end of the letter, he declared, "That sounds like a direct threat. If I do not follow this demand letter, that you will be suing me. And if that's the case, I have no option but to take up legal counsel and countersue for everything you're coming after me. And really, again, Alyssa, I don't want to go down this road with you. I'm telling you this is a bad idea for you." The letter then concludes, "Jeff, you are a family man yourself. Imagine your family in this situation. What would you want to happen?" He reacted, and here we go. "What the fuck does my family have to do with this? How dare you bring that into this letter? How unprofessional could you be as a lawyer to say that at the end of this, to make me feel guilt and make me feel bad and make me feel like I'm one in the wrong? You're a piece of shit lawyer." Wait a minute, was that the lawyer? I think that was the lawyer getting ass mad about this. "And holy crap, if you guys do come after me with this, you will feel the wrath of hell. I will not stop, and I genuinely mean it. This is the dumbest thing I have had to deal with, and holy crap, Alyssa, you're even stupider than I give you credit for," he concluded. Or was that... The letter then concludes, "Jeff, you are a family man yourself." Hold on, I think I'm getting the names, because I think Jeff Smash JT. Who's the lawyer's name again? Lane. Okay. All right, so that was Smash JT saying that. Okay. I was like confused. I'm like, wait, why is he getting mad over it? But yeah, that makes sense. Okay. The letter. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. The letter concluded. This is Lane from the letter. And so then Jeff, who is Smash JT, responded. Okay. I get it now. What the fuck does that have to do with my family? How dare you bring this? No, good reaction. Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was Lane reacting on it. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, little bitch. And then I was like, oh, wait, that's Jeff. No, good reaction. Yeah, what a fag, bringing up your family. Anyway. What do you make of Mercante's letter and Smash JT's response? Fucking stupid. So dumb. Clearly wanting to try to destroy Smash's JT stuff by having him spend all his time, energy, and money into a stupid possible lawsuit. I hate it when people... Yeah, there needs to be... I don't know if there's any sort of law or something, but we're seeing this happening all the time. Like, we saw it with Nick's thing with Monograph. Like, with that and stuff like that. But again, this is what these people do. Because she's not going to pay for anything if this does go to trial. She has no plans of any sort of payment to the lawyer or to anything. This is all just to waste Smash JT's time and energy and money to get him to break. That's why I don't feel bad when I say these people's spirits are the one that needs to be broken. Because we already know on how fragile they are. We already know. Well, let's end this on a positive note, shall we? It is the 27th. Let's check out what games were released today. Dragon Quest. We got Dragon Quest V for the Super Nintendo. Very nice. What else we got? Shadow Hearts Covenant. Got your Dead Rising 2. Oh, the ISO and or Echo. I think that's actually pronounced Echo. The Echo and Shadow Colossus collection. I recently played Echo. I thought it was a very good game. Oh, Fatal Frame Maiden of Black Water for the Wii U. That's a good one. Why even have these? No one cares about those. Legend of the Heroes. That might be a good one. Ugh. Anyway. Let's check if there's any over here. Wait, did I see Wing Commander? There you go. Wing Commander. Released for DOS. That's cool. Zaban's Power Rangers Zeo. Full Tilt Battle Pinball. Very nice. Let's see. What else stands out? What else? Spy Hunter. I've heard of that game. I don't know if it's any good, but it just stuck out to me. Oh, Silent Hill 4 The Room, at least in New Zealand, was released. I still need to play Silent Hill 3 and 4. Womp a womp. Got some FIFA soccer. I think we pretty much saw like the ones that kind of stand out the most. Ugh, excuse me. It's been a long week. I'll tell you what. Working late at night. Just wanted to stay ahead of the game. You know what I'm saying? Got a Dragon Quest game released in the Netherlands. Code Vein Day 1 edition. Released in a lot of the... all around the world. It goes around the world like la 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 la. And then Counter-Strike 2 for Steam. Was released 1 year ago. Well, that's all I had for you today. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. A lot of insanity, a lot of garbage. But yeah, if you enjoyed it, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Turn on notifications to get notified when I go live. And then we'll probably finish up Luigi's Mansion here tomorrow. But thanks again for you guys hanging out with me. Let's see, who do we got? Anybody online that we can... That's it, go away now. Thanks for hanging out with me. Yeah, it's like, thanks for hanging out with me. Now be gone. You're no longer useful to me. Oh, Jay's online. Doing some Sea of Thieves over on YouTube. We'll raid him. All right. But you guys have a good rest of your night. Take care. God bless. I'll be online tomorrow. So just keep an eye out. Make sure to turn on notifications. We're on YouTube, X, and Rumble. So take care. Peace.